Hey, deal makers, welcome to the show where it's all about financial freedom with real estate. Let's do this. All right, in today's episode, my partner at Nighthawk Equity, Garrett Lynch, and I sit down with Damion Lupo, founder and CEO of EQRP. And Damion really, I've known him for years, but he's really passionate about tax-advantaged investing. He doesn't really like paying taxes, and neither should you. And so this episode is really about not so much tax law per se, but how do you use tax-advantaged vehicles like an IRA, a 401k to actually invest in real estate so you actually can grow your capital tax-free. And that's what he really loves to talk about. So whether you are an active investor syndicator or an operator who is trying to raise capital, the IRA funds, the money in IRAs is enormous, and most people don't even know they can invest with an IRA. So Damon's going to talk about how to take an IRA and make it self-directed, essentially, where you can actually invest in real estate, invest in LLCs, make loans, and things of that nature. It's very powerful. But he also talks about some of the shortcomings of an IRA. The IRA is the most well-known, but what most people don't know about is these 401ks, solo 401ks, and they're actually better and they're easy to set up. And that's what he specializes in. We'll talk about some of the limitations of an IRA and some gotchas that certainly surprised me when I started investing with my IRA a while back. And so a lot of these things can be solved with 401ks. Have been around for decades in the early 70s. A lot of people, most people don't know about this. So Damion shines a light on actually setting up and using a 401k for self-directed time of investing. So really cool episode if you're not only an active investor syndicator, but certainly if you're a passive investor, you have money in your IRA and you want to take advantage of real estate investing, passive investing. This is going to be a fantastic episode for both sides here of the syndication real estate investing game. So let's get right into it with Damion Lupo. Hey, Damion, welcome to the show today.
Michael, it's good to see you. Good to see
It's
you,
great to
Garrett.
have you here.
Yeah.
And Garrett here's here. It's great to have you here on the. I keep saying show, but it's always a show. Everything's a show, right? And so you've been here before, Damion. You speak. You're an influencer, and you really love talking about tax advantaged investing, specifically using retirement accounts. And you have a lot of history with that, and you have a lot of knowledge. You've invested yourself in real estate, crypto, gold, a bunch of other stuff, and so. On this call, we want to really explore investing with IRAs, solo for all these tax-advantaged vehicles, and kind of the ins and outs, the pros and cons. A lot of people don't know how that it can be done, and if you have heard that it can be done, we don't know how it can be done, and there's nuances to each. So let's first get started with this about why. How is it even possible? Why don't people know that they can invest in IRAs? Is that even legal to use your IRA to invest in real estate?
It's not only legal, it's probably one of the smartest things. When you talk about tax advantaged, that the way that people should look at this for using retirement accounts for real estate and all the other things you can do is it's a tax-free forever scenario where you can literally stop paying taxes and do it for life and even beyond your death. And that's only available if you use a self-directed IRA, self-directed 401k. And this has been around for decades. It's just that to your question, why don't people know about it? Because financial advisors don't want you to take your money and take it out of their fee control. So they don't tell you about it.
That's when I first started raising money many moons ago, I had this lunch with this guy who was my neighbor, and I'm going through the whole thing, and he gets excited. And I said the minimum investment is $50,000. He goes, "Oh, I don't have that much." And I'm like, "Shit!" like, no, I just wasted an hour of my time. And I was like, just by the by, do you have like an IRA or 401k? He goes, "Oh yeah, I got like $500,000 in that." And so, number one, most investors don't know you can do it. And then a lot of active investors, syndicators, they don't know, and they don't know how to educate their investors. And so this is a really, really important topic to focus on. And so if you're in that camp, either you're a passive investor and you've never invested with an IRA, let's talk about that. So how is it, I mean, like you said, most of the time people are investing the IRA into some well-diversified mutual fund bucket ETFs that their financial or whatever their Schwab account puts them through. And I don't remember seeing a button anywhere that says, "Hey, and buy this house," right? So how in the world can someone use an IRA to invest in alternative investments?
Well, anytime you have an IRA or an old 401k or a 403b, any of these retirement accounts, and a lot of people they forgot about them because they opted in or they got opted in, and then it sits out there and it's just it's sitting at Fidelity or Schwab. And ultimately, people end up having a ton of money, like your neighbor. They have a 500,000 or they have 100,000, and they forgot about it because it's not something that's in front of front of mind. So all that old money from those rollovers, old jobs and things, is eligible to
Mm.
be controlled. So you can self-direct it, meaning you can do what you want, and it's just a matter of rolling it over. It's not a taxable event. It's just a really cool option, and they're not going to tell you because they like to get those fees passively. Right? And it's supposed to be you being passive, getting and not paying the fees. But you do have that option, and people just don't know about it. So you're not going to see a big red button when you log into Schwab or Fidelity that says, "Hey, I want to take control." You actually have to say, "Okay, I want to do this," and that's where we come into play. We help do that with people, and we guide them.
Okay, so what does that look like then? So I was like, okay, cool. I got some money in this IRA, and I've saved it up over whatever 20 whatever years, and I want to now buy something else. Like, what can I? So first of all, how can that? Let's talk about how that's done. How can someone roll over this money? To, where does it roll over to? And then we can talk a bit more about what that allows you to do.
Yeah, so basically, the way it works is a true self-directed, not necessarily a Schwab or a Fidelity self-directed. What those do is they give you options to buy stocks. You can choose stocks as opposed to just a mutual fund. But a true self-directed IRA or a true self-directed 401k, and we do those at the EQRP company. Those are they give you checkbook control. They give you what happens is you take your money and you can roll it into an account that you actually control. You have a checkbook for. And once that's set up, you get to invest in anything you want, including those mutual funds, but also the real estate, the Bitcoin, the gold, all the things that you've maybe wanted to do, but you didn't see as an option when you were logging into your account. So it really gives you all the control in the world to do the things you want to do and put you in the driver's seat.
I mean, I just remember from dealing with some of our investors who are, investing with IRAs. It's a little tedious, honestly, for both parties, right? Because once you set up your account, and there's a variety of self-directed custodians, I think they're called out there, where you can write a letter to your IRA company and roll the money, wire the money, or now they have it. Okay, which is super cool. And now you can basically direct those funds however you want. You can make loans, you can buy houses. There's some limitations around it, but which is pretty cool. But I just do remember that it takes a while because what happens is these custodians, they have to sign stuff on your behalf, right? So it is basically an IRA that is managed by a custodian to keep it. I think they call it an arm's length transaction. But because of that, if I want to do, let's say I want to invest in a syndication, which is then those docs that you get for, like, let's say from us, are then sent to the IRA custodian, and they have to sign those docs and execute those docs, and that sometimes takes time until those docs are signed, and then the wire is funded, is actually sent. I mean, sometimes what, Garrett, like a week can go by, sometimes even longer, and that whole process is pretty clunky. But you can do these things which you couldn't do before.
Yeah, really people like mostly don't realize that they can take all that friction out of the equation, and then they go, well, that's cool, but it sounds like a lot of work. And ultimately, when you have a partner, which is what we end up becoming, is a partner to help them through this process, and really white glove treatment where we do most of the heavy lifting. And then you end up in a position with either a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k. We figure out what the most appropriate fit is. And once people have that, they do have control. So you take out those week-long delays. So when somebody says, I want to do a real estate deal, they can sign the docs that day and wire their funds. That's how fast it is, and there is no more friction. So when you get to that point, it makes life a lot simpler.
Damion, what is the difference between, just for the audience, like 401k, IRA, and then EQRP?
So the IRAs are under one part of the tax code. It's kind of the default. Anybody that has a social security number can have an IRA. And then 401ks are a little bit different. They're under the section 401. And basically those are meant for people that have some type of either side hustle or they have a business. And that can be as simple as, a little consulting, or you could be a general partner and have some active income or active opportunity and be qualified. So both of those are great options for people as opposed to just being stuck in a mutual fund. And the difference is really with 401ks, including the self-directed, you can put about 10 times more money into that per year. And you're one of the biggest ones with real estate, especially, is that you're exempt from a thing called UBIT tax. And that's the biggest thing. If somebody has an apartment that they're investing an IRA in, it's really important to know about that and know that it's coming. That tax is coming, even if you're in a Roth IRA. And there's a way around that, and that is to convert it into a self-directed 401k or EQRP, the way that we set them up. And I think you asked the difference between self-directed 401ks and like solo 401ks and EQRPs. And there's a different way that we build it. We give you more control and more liability protection, and that those are the biggest differences. And it's under the same part of the tax code, but ultimately we're exempting you from UBIT tax, which is a potentially up to 40, almost 40% tax. That is a surprise to most people, and we can get you out of it completely.
Well, let me tell you about this. So most people don't even know you can self-direct an IRA. Okay, and then of the small group of people that know how to do that, and they actually have done it, this is a shocker. And I remember doing this a long time ago when I quit my job, and I was like so hell-bent on investing passively, right? And of course, one of the things you read about is investing with your IRA. So immediately opened up a self-directed IRA and invested in a bunch of stuff. Years later, Damion, years later, I get these notices about these taxes that are due in my IRA account. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's this UBIT tax. Now, normally, if you buy normal stuff that doesn't have a loan on it, I don't know. I guess that would disqualify real estate. I guess if you're paying 100% cash is right, then you don't have this UBIT, this tax. But if there is something with a loan, maybe you can explain it here. But the point is this: I had to go file taxes out of my IRA going back like 7 years because of this thing. And it was such a mess. So what is this UBIT tax that you get in your IRA if you buy real estate or chunks of real estate?
I think you hit the nail on the head. With real estate, one of the best things is you can use debt. It's leverage. You don't have to write a check. Typically, if you buy a stock or you buy gold, you're going to write a check, or you're going to pay for the whole thing. There is no borrowing. But with real estate, you get this leverage. And what the IRS did is they said, okay, well, you know what? We don't think it's fair that people are using tax advantaged accounts called IRAs to go and buy real estate and have a whole bunch of loans. So we're gonna equalize it, and we're gonna make them pay tax. So like if you had a 70% loan, which is common in a lot of multifamily, and even if you're passive and you didn't take out the loan, but there is debt, you could be paying. I mean, on a $100,000 investment over a period of 5 years, you might pay $25,000 or $30,000 in tax, and it's because the IRS had this special rule. The funny part is when the legislation was done, the thing that was exempted was the 401k. It was because a lot of major fund managers said, "Hey, we have developers using pension money and 401ks." And bottom line is, they just said, if you're going to use a solo 401k or an EQRP to go invest in a real estate deal that's got leverage, we're not going to charge you that tax. So, I mean, it's like your experience. A lot of people realized, wait, I didn't realize I'm going to get hit with this. The best part is, as long as your deal hasn't sold, you can move the asset from an IRA into a 401k, and now you're exempt. So you can do that 5 minutes before the property sold, but you can't do it after. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know that. That's actually huge.
So this 401k thing, this is the EQRP is a form of a solo 401k. Is that right, Damion?
That's right.
So again, some people know about, many people know about IRAs. Some people know about the self-directed IRA, but we talked about some limitations. What most people don't know about, it's tedious to get a transaction done. And then this UBIT is, especially for real estate, is something like, what is this tax? I thought it was tax exempt. Well, apparently not when you're buying leveraged real estate. And so now there's this 401k, specifically the solo 401k. And so there's this other part of the tax code that really no one knows about, except for your audience and your book and things that you're trying to change that as well. But it's been around for a while. Talk a little bit about the history of 401k. Is this like a new invention that maybe you invented a few years ago? Or like, how safe is this solo 401k thing?
Yeah, this has been around since before Garrett and I were born. I think it may have been created on your birthday when you were born, Michael. It's possible. It was in the early 70s. Good. I mean, it's been around a long time, and it was built around Wall Street, and it was built around Wall Street making a lot of money and controlling things. But this is not something new. It just keeps evolving to give, like, here's what's new: the Roth component of retirement accounts. And how new is that? Not that new. I mean, that's still been around 20 plus years. So you've got these things that have a lot of history. They're very solid. There's no gray space in them, meaning it's black and white. And people that are thinking, well, you know what, I like the tax-free option. The only way to do tax-free and do real estate with leverage is a Roth solo 401k or Roth EQRP. And that's because you can have all the leverage, you're exempt, and as the thing sells and you spend the money, there's no tax. So that's the ultimate tax planning strategy in the United States, is the Roth 401k, hands down.
And the other thing, so you're preventing the UBIT, which is cool, but again, you're truly self-directing stuff. So because I have a EQRP with you guys, right? So if I need to sign a document, I don't need to send it to you. I just sign it myself, and then I get an actual checkbook, or I can even send a wire out of the financial institution that has the money. And so it really is basically, it's very fast, and it's almost like using my own money laying in another bank account.
Yeah,
And so from that perspective,
you're just wearing a different hat. You get to be the trustee, and
right.
it's very cool because as long as you don't disqualify yourself, meaning you're an idiot, which you're not, and people that take this on are, that they're. And one of the things about custodians is for some people, they just go, I don't trust myself. And so this isn't a good idea to give yourself checkbook control if you don't trust yourself. But most people that are watching and listening are smart enough to be able to write the check and make the investment that makes sense. And that's what
Oh,
you have the option to do.
let's talk about some of those limitations and restrictions. So talk about some of those things where you have to be careful of, where you probably can't, write a check and, buy beer with it.
Yeah, the IRS is kind of funny. They don't tell you what you can do. They tell you the 7 or 8 things you can't do. Like you can't invest in a lake house that you're going to go use during the summer, and you can't actively, like you can't buy a property and then go and do all the work on the rehab. Like you need to have somebody else doing it because the way that the IRS looks at it is you're contributing additional money through your labor. So it needs to be a passive investment, which syndications are perfect. You invest with somebody and you're an investor. You're not an active rehabber. So those are the biggest ones that people run across. You can invest with certain people, and really they just say you can't invest with a few people. You can't invest with your kids or your parents, but you could invest with your brothers, sisters. And so there's certain people, a few people that you're told you can't invest with, but it's a very limited amount of things. You can't invest in collectible cars. Some people actually come to me and say, I want to flip a Corvette in my IRA, and I go, no, you can't do that. But other than that, it's almost I want to flip a Rolls Royce, and I go, okay, that's a double extra dumb idea, and so I tell
Did
them
I
not to do
did I
it.
say that to you?
No, you would never have said that to me.
So bottom line, you can't buy beer with it. That is a shame. But can you, with an IRA, if you title the house, let's say you buy a house, you title it in the IRA, I can do that. Can I do the same thing with a 401k?
Yeah, any of those you can title in the name of the retirement account, and it can be an investment. Same thing, whether it's real estate or whether it's gold or Bitcoin or almost anything. You just title it in that entity, and then you've got the tax status, either the exempt or the tax-free status if it's Roth.
So some of the restrictions are similar to an IRA, is my understanding. It's got to be sort of arm's length. You can't get personal benefit of it. It's really meant to be, like you said, a passive investment.
Yeah, and one of the other things that people will they'll get twisted on, they'll like, especially people that are general partners, they're part of a syndication, they'll want to invest their retirement account in the deal, and they also want to get active fees. It's kind of like if you bought a house with your retirement account, and then you're also the agent and you got a commission. You cannot do that because you're getting personal benefit in active benefit. And so that's one of the ones that people run into a lot. And you just got to be really smart and careful. There's plenty of ways to not pay taxes without crossing the line just to make a few bucks today.
Any other considerations, Damion? I mean, so again, IRA is amazing. It's much better than, letting city mutual funds. And so there are some considerations around the UBIT. They have to be aware of that, and about the fact that someone else got to sign the docs and wire the money. Any kind of things that people should be aware about the Roth QRP or the 401k?
Well, one of the things that I like, it's a strategy I've used, I suggest that people think about is setting up retirement accounts, either a Roth IRA or a Roth EQRP for their parents. And the reason being, my dad died, and I did this 10 years before he died. And if you set one up and it's part of your family planning, you can literally help them get money into it. And then when they pass away, that either you or maybe your kids would inherit it. And what this does is it creates a lot of legacy tax-free wealth for your family. And people don't really think about that. They don't want to talk about death with their family. But the reality is this is a really great tool to prevent the government from taking your wealth and compounding it over your lifetime and then beyond.
So what would be the process? Okay, so I'm either a passive investor, I want to do this, or I'm an active investor, I'm a general partner, and I want to guide my investors so that they can use their IRA in this way and take advantage of some of the things we're talking about. What does kind of the process look like?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people that are putting deals together, they get stuck. They're trying to figure out how to get the money, and they say, I've talked to everybody like you did with your neighbor. And what we found is that when people start sharing the options, they use the education, they leverage us, they leverage the book that I wrote, they give that to people, and they say, hey, you could use your retirement account to invest with me. All of a sudden, you have really unlimited money. There's $40 trillion sitting in retirement accounts. And I mean, this is insane that there's so much money and people don't know that they can use it. They don't know they can tap into their friends and family and share. And so there's an opportunity for you raising money, putting deals together, and helping a lot of people use that money for deals that are quite honestly a lot better than most of the Wall Street stuff out there. And so it's really an education process. You asked about what the process looks like. It's about leveraging on not you, it's not you guys, anybody listening, watching, becoming an expert. It's literally partnering and saying, okay, you know what? We've got a team, and it's all about team. Just like you guys work with people, it's about your teams. You leverage off of us, and we provide, we provide the education, the book. Sometimes we do we do webinars like this with syndicators, people putting deals together, and it's really educating people and empowering them. And so you get all those resources from us at the EQRP company, and then you let the education and the power of it do its job.
Yeah, it's all about really education. So I think so. If someone wants to get into this, should they skip the self-directed IRA and go right into something like this, or is that kind of a stepping stone? What's the best way forward?
It's really not a stepping stone any more than you need to do a rental house before you do an apartment. It's just a question of what fits. And so some people, a Roth IRA is going to be the thing that fits. And then for some people, it's going to be a Roth EQRP. So part of our job is to figure out and navigate and help guide people so that they're not trying to figure it out with ChatGPT, which is what a lot of people do. They go, well, let me talk to ChatGPT and figure this out. And I go, okay, you can do that. Why don't we all do it together, and we can give you the nuance. I mean, you guys have probably seen this. The AI will tell you a lot of things that are not necessarily true, but they were true 6 years ago. And so we help make sure that it's accurate and it's timely.
Can you talk about some examples of how people have used this vehicle for investing?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most common thing is people are using it to invest in syndications, a lot of multifamily, self-storage, just things where they want to be a part of a big deal, and they can put in 50, 100, $200,000 into it. My favorite story is watching people use their Roth account, throw a couple $100,000 in an apartment deal. The thing goes through its cycle, and they come back and they end up with 4, 5, 600,000, and it's all tax free. I mean, and they sit there and what's funny, guys, is that a lot of times people say, is this legal? I feel like I did something wrong. I've had people that had like $1 million checks come back from their syndication successes, and they felt like they did something wrong. And you have to call them down and say, this is not illegal. It just feels like it should be, because it's almost like this secret that nobody is talking about. But the reality is, I mean, you guys probably, some people have heard of a guy named Peter Thiel, one of the co-founders of PayPal. He's worth billions of dollars. Yeah, that guy has $5 billion in his Roth account. How do you think he did that? He had good advisors, good team, and he was doing things with leverage, just like we're talking about here.
Now, the advantage of this is that any capital gains are not taxed. That's cool, but you can't double dip. You can't get the benefits of depreciation in these accounts, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things that people will ask. It's a great question. So you don't get the depreciation. What you get is you get tax free forever, including when you move it between asset classes, which is it's like the next step up. So real estate is awesome because you get the depreciation and you have all these different things. And then you take the next step and you want to have some money in a Roth account, especially a 401k, because you can literally sell, move it into Bitcoin, move it into gold, do something else, spend the money, and no tax. And that is there's nothing that trumps that in the tax code at all.
I mean, without it, you'd have to do things like a 1031 exchange, which is
Right.
super expensive and pretty complicated, for sure. Yes, one can spend the money. That is for sure. That's also the case.
That's
Well,
like one of the fun parts when you spend the money and then you don't have a tax bill. Like who doesn't want that? Like everybody wants to. Nobody likes the tax bill, and we literally just take it out of the equation. And that's why people go, this almost seems crazy, and they go, why haven't I heard of it? Because what people are told is defer taxes and just defer them. And my suggestion is, why not just get rid of them completely? Instead of deferring them, delete them. And I mean, that's just far better. But it's a selling point for financial advisors and tax advisors when they say, oh, you can get a deduction and you're reducing your income tax today. Well, yeah, and you're planning on being poor when you're older. And I like to plan on being rich and helping other people be rich and tax-free.
Now, what kind of access can I get to this money? Because let's talk about that, right? Because I want money. I want my money now, not when I'm older and grayer, right? So, what are some of the, like? Can I borrow from it? Can I borrow from this money? When can I get access? How can I get any access before then? Talked about accessibility there.
Yeah, so a couple of things to keep in mind. One, this is a retirement account, so it's not meant to necessarily spend when you're 30 or 40 years old. The idea here is you use the compounding effect of being able to grow things and have them compound without tax. And then when you're 59 and a half, you start spending it, you have access to it. There's other ways to do it with the 72T where you can get it earlier in your 50s. I mean, there are ways that you can borrow. You can borrow $50,000 or half, whichever's less, of your account anytime you want for any reason. So imagine that you have a credit line that you didn't have to get JP Morgan to bless. Like you literally just go write yourself a check and you can go buy 4 wheels on your Rolls Royce, but you can't get the car because it's not enough. So you can get $50,000 anytime you want and you pay it back. You kind of have you actually do have a built-in credit line, which is very cool. And then you let this sucker do what it's meant to do, which is compound over and over and become this giant pile of tax-free money.
That's pretty cool. I don't think you can borrow money from a self-directed IRA.
You cannot. That's one of the
that's
unique
another
things.
benefit. So you can borrow 50,000, and do you have to pay yourself interest somehow, or what are the guidelines around that?
Yeah, you get to pick the interest rate. You pay yourself back over 5 years, or if you use it for your own personal residence, you can pay it back over 30 years. So, I mean, that's cool. Like if you said, I want to get more money into my retirement account, maybe you charge yourself 12 or 15% interest. Keep in mind, all this money is going back to you. So it's just a way to get more money into your account. Or you say, I want to do less, and you charge yourself 4%. You get to choose.
Yeah.
You're the trustee.
All right, so if people are watching this right now, they're passive investors, they want to start investing with their IRA, or again, there's active investors who want to learn more about this vehicle. Where can people find out more about these EQRP?
Best thing to do is get a copy of the book, EQRPbook.com. Just grab a copy of it. We'll FedEx it to you. And super simple, straightforward. We give you a little digital download right up front that you can run through in 10 minutes. And we'll also send you the book for those of you that want to go deep into it. So EQRPbook.com, grab a copy.
That's awesome. And I think we actually have a link on our platform. I think it's themichaelblank.com/QRP. So themichaelblank.com/QRP is a way for you to not only get the book, and also if you want, then book a call with Damion's team and learn more about that process. But this is pretty powerful.
I think use that link that you guys have set up, because I think there's a little bit of an extra thing that we do. So just make sure
there's
you
a bonus on that. Yeah. So
exactly.
themichaelblank.com/QRP is a place to go if you want to find out more. So really cool. Damion, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Glad to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
So a good next step for you is to check out Damion's book and read all about 401ks. I think that's the name. That's themichaelblank.com/QRP. Just check that out, and you get a special bonus if you go there from Damion as well. Another great step for after this is thefreedompodcast.com. It's kind of our home base for anything related to the podcast. So we want to give you a next step for if you're invested in, and if you want to be a passive investor, we'll give you some next steps here. Talk about, learn more about real estate syndications passively, schedule a call with us at Nighthawk. But also if you want to get into the active investment syndication game, we have a 1-hour training video about that called Apartments 101. And if you want to explore working with us in a mentoring capacity, you can schedule a call there as well. So 2 different ways that lead to the same direction, and that is financial freedom. So hopefully you learned something today. Use that in your business or your portfolio. Catch you next time.